Everyone in school is just let out and they're all like walking and driving by as my car is burning to the ground. My very first car was the biggest piece of crap ever. And I know that anyone who's watching or who says, oh, I had the biggest piece of crap, they're like, no, my car was the worst car ever. So it was parked at a buddy of mine's house. It hadn't run for 2 years. It was a 1989, I don't even want to admit this, it's so embarrassing. It's a 1989 Pontiac Le Mans. And this isn't like the cool Le Mans back in the 60s. This is like the Econo box. It was a sister with Opel Tigra, and it was the biggest piece of junk ever, like a less than 2 liter 4-cylinder hatchback, terrible condition. Like I said, hadn't run for 2 years. For my 16th birthday, my parents gave me a Matchbox car, and they were like, you're not responsible enough for a car. This is your car that you get. You know, if you want a car, go earn some money and buy one. And I was like, you know, damn it, all my friends get cars. Why don't I get a good car? But they were right. I wasn't ready for one. I bought this car for $200. They wouldn't let me bring it home because it didn't run. I talked my other friend's mom into letting me push the car. He lived in the same neighborhood. Push the car from my friend Bobby's house to my friend Dane's house. And we pushed it in his garage, and I told her like, oh, I just got to get it running, you know. And she's like, oh, she was such a sweetheart. She wouldn't say no to anything. And she's like, all right, yeah, no problem. We'll, you know, I'll let you put it in the garage, you get it running, and then you'll have a car to go to high school. I'm like, all right, cool. Fast forward 6 months, me and my other friend who knew about cars, except he didn't know anything about cars, he just conned me into saying that he did. We took the whole thing apart, still didn't know what was wrong with it. I mean, we took the interior out, we took the bumpers off, I had all these plans to put all the rice lights and, you know, strobes and all kinds of stupid crap on it, and things still didn't run. So eventually Dane's mom was like, all right, you got to get this thing out of here. Like, you've destroyed my garage. The car doesn't still run. Like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. So I get a hold of another buddy of mine. His dad's a professional mechanic. Comes over for an afternoon, just charity case. He's like, obviously you need some help. You know, you don't know what you're doing, 16-year-old kid. And so we figured out that it was a 20 amp fuel pump fuse. It's the only problem with the car. So I'm just like, okay. So we put a new fuse in, car starts right up. And I'm just like, oh, wow. So now I have to put it back together, right? Which, of course, it's never going to go back the same way. Everyone was impressed. Everyone was super impressed that I actually got the thing running and driving, including the guy that I bought it from. He was like, $200, you're never going to get this car running. Like, it's been parked here for 2 years, you know, and sure did. So I think that really helped motivate me to have some drive and know that, like, with enough perseverance, you can make stuff happen, even the seemingly impossible. So it was a hatchback. It was black. Again, it started completely stock and in not the worst condition in terms of like cosmetically, but at the end of our garage tear down, we had sanded parts of it. You know, it was all dented up. It had no bumpers. The interior was just like a gray tweed that we thought we were gonna, you know, glue suede on and stuff like that. And it all ended up just being terrible. The interior parts, I like spray painted some of them silver because I thought that was cool back then. And like the plastics, you know, like the radio trim and stuff, it was terrible. The whole thing was awful, and it never had any performance upgrades because no one makes anything for an 89 Pontiac Le Mans. Like, maybe I could get a universal muffler and put it on and make it sound worse. But that was it. There was no performance at all, like nothing you could do to this thing, and it was just ratty piece of junk. Now I've got a car, and I'll never forget the first time I drive it home, and my mom and dad are like, what the hell is this? I'm like, this is the car I bought on my own, you know, and I got it running. And they're just like, oh, you're gonna kill yourself. Like, please don't drive this. This looks very dangerous. And I'm like, yeah, well, you wouldn't buy me a car, and I bought one, and I'm proud of it, you know. So here I am. I've got my car. It's running and driving, and I'm, you know, king of the world right now. Drive it to school. It lasts maybe about a month. Slowly building up parts for it, thinking I can put a body kit and all this stuff on it. It's still a complete piece of junk. I mean, like, you wouldn't believe, you know. I'm like getting tetanus just driving this thing. So eventually, another buddy of mine was, you know, had a kind of a fast old school truck. And we decided it'd be a good idea to race as soon as school lets out, right? We're gonna race each other. We were talking trash in you know, PE. So he's like, all right, let's do it. So as soon as school let out, we go back to the parking lot, we get in our cars, and we pull out, and we gun it right in front of the school. We're racing each other, street racing, you know, probably going 40 miles an hour, not fast at all. The engine lets go in my car. Giant hole, blown out of the block. The thing catches on fire and it coasts to a stop into the shoulder right in front of the school, just on fire, right? Right as school let out. So now there I am with my piece of crap car that I was so proud that I got running, and everyone in school is just let out and they're all like walking and driving by as my car is burning to the ground. They're just like, oh my God, we're trying to find a fire extinguisher. There's nowhere to be found. And there I am, the car's just smoldering, and yep. That was it. That was my first car. So lasted about a month. It cost maybe $1,000 and went down in a burning flame of glory. I towed it back to my house. I'm calling up junkyards to try and figure out how much cash I can get out of this thing. While I'm figuring that out, my friends turned it into a skate ramp, and they were like, jumping on the hood with the skateboards, and one guy like flying sidekick to the front fender. Finally, I got a junkyard that was like, okay, yeah. And I told him, headlights are complete. All the metal's there, like, minimal body damage, this and that. They're like, all right, we'll give you $350 and we'll come pick it up. And I'm like, holy crap, that's a deal. Like, all right, come on. And so I'm like, here's the address, come get it right now. And they showed up with the wrecker and they were like, this fender's all dented and this headlight's cracked and this and that. And I was like, well, I mean, yeah. And then they gave me $150 for it, which still was kind of a deal. But they told me had it not had all that damage that literally my friends just did from skateboarding on it, that I would have actually, come out all right with it. But yeah, I just had them haul it off and just wash my hands of it. The next car was a Geo Tracker, which is equally terrible, but way more fun because that one was, also a manual and just more fun to beat around on and like not care about. Whereas the first car was kind of like, oh, this is my first car. This one was like, I don't care. I bought it for $1,500 and just, it was rear wheel drive. So I started to learn how to slide it around a little bit and just like mercilessly beating on it, and nothing's going to break because it probably makes 50 horsepower or something stupid like that. I got rid of it because I was doing donuts with a buddy of mine. It was a big guy, was sitting in the back seat, and we figured out that depending on what side of the car he was on, the car would like tip up on two wheels, right? So if I was doing a right-handed donut, I would be like, get in the right. So he would have to offset the weight balance so that we wouldn't bicycle the car. But eventually sold that for more than I paid for it, which was pretty cool. And then I got like a Honda Del Sol, which was like, oh man, now I got a really cool car. This one's got, over 100 horsepower. This thing's fast, So that just started my decline into the automotive world of, busted knuckles and broken dreams. If you're a young person that wants to get into cars, I think it's great to have, a little bit of aptitude to try and build something and a little bit of drive. I loved playing with Legos as a kid, so I think that's a great thing to like get people kind of thinking about the mechanical, aspects of things, how things go together, how one thing may affect another, and then that kind of can spark some interest and get people interested in more, engineered items like a car or anything like that. I of course love that because I love actual cars that like you drive, you can fix. They're not run by a computer. They're not like shutting down everything you want to do. They have a clutch pedal, things like that. So I would encourage anyone in the youth to do that. But I know that the times are changing and transportation, unfortunately for many of today's kids, is not top of the list. They don't care about getting their first car or like getting to go and have some freedom. They'd rather play Fortnite or something, and they don't care about that. I don't know. I don't relate.